The grocery bag split open just as Zara Jenkins reached for the door handle of her rental sedan, sending apples and oranges rolling across the parking lot like runaway marbles. She muttered under her breath, designer heels clicking against the asphalt as she chased after a particularly rebellious grapefruit that had decided to make a break for the neighboring strip mall. This was exactly why she never shopped for herself. Back in Manhattan, she had people for this. But here in the small Virginia town of Millbrook, playing the role of an ordinary woman required ordinary tasks, and that included standing in a supermarket trying to remember which type of milk was the one normal people bought. "Madam, hold on a second." The voice was deep and carried the kind of easy confidence that made her turn around before she could stop herself. A man in his early 30s jogged toward her, scooping up fruit as he moved. He was tall, maybe 6'2", with dark hair that looked like it could use a trim and shoulders that filled out his faded flannel shirt in a way that suggested manual labor rather than a gym membership. "Your bag broke. I noticed." Zara tried not to sound as irritated as she felt. The grapefruit had stopped rolling, at least, wedged against the tire of a pickup truck that had seen better days. Probably better years, actually. The man gathered the scattered groceries with practiced efficiency, his movements quick but careful. "Here, I have an extra bag in my truck. Just give me 1 second." He deposited the fruit into her arms and strode over to the battered Ford, returning moments later with a sturdy canvas tote. "This should hold better than those paper ones. Thank you, but I could not take your bag." Zara watched as he began transferring items anyway, his hands rough and calloused in a way that spoke of hard work. She found herself noticing details she normally would not, like the way his jaw tensed slightly when he concentrated, or the small scar above his left eyebrow. Consider it a loner. "You can return it if we run into each other again. Millbrook is not exactly a metropolis." He glanced up at her with eyes that were an unexpected shade of green, like sea glass. There was something genuine in his expression, no hint of the calculated interest she was used to seeing when men looked at her. Of course, he had no idea who she was. That was the entire point of this little reconnaissance mission. That's very kind. She accepted the bag, their fingers brushing briefly. His hands were warm despite the October chill. "I'm Zara. Tyler Garrison. Nice to meet you, even under runaway-produced circumstances." A small smile played at the corner of his mouth, transforming his face from merely handsome to something more interesting. "You new in town? I have not seen you around." Before Zara could answer, a small voice called out from the direction of Tyler's truck. "Dad, are we going home now? I am hungry." Tyler's expression shifted immediately, that smile becoming softer, more complete. "Be right there, buddy." He turned back to Zara. "My son. We are already running late for lunch and he gets cranky when his blood sugar drops. 6-year-olds, you know." She did not know, actually. Her world consisted of boardrooms and quarterly reports, investment portfolios, and hostile takeovers. 6-year-olds were as foreign to her as this small-town grocery store with its handwritten sale signs and locals who stopped in the middle of the parking lot to chat about nothing in particular. But something in the way Tyler's face changed when he mentioned his son made her want to understand. "Thank you for the rescue, Tyler Garrison." She found herself meaning it more than she would have expected. Any time. He was already backing away, that easy smile still in place. "Welcome to Millbrook." Zara watched him return to his truck, where a small face peered through the passenger window. The boy had dark hair like his father, and even from a distance, she could see the family resemblance. Tyler ruffled his son's hair as he climbed into the driver's seat, and something about the gesture made her chest feel oddly tight. She was not supposed to be having feelings. She was here for business, investigating the old textile mill property on the edge of town that her company was considering for development. Going undercover had been her assistant's idea, a way to get a real sense of the community before making an offer that would likely change Millbrook forever. Small towns were tricky. They resisted change, clung to tradition, fought against progress, even when that progress came with jobs and economic growth. She needed to understand what she was dealing with before revealing her hand. Tyler Garrison was not part of the plan. He was a complication, albeit one with very nice shoulders and a smile that made her forget, just for a moment, about profit margins and development timelines. The rental house Zara had secured for the month was a modest 2-bedroom cottage on Maple Street, the kind of place that came furnished with mismatched dishes and quilts that smelled faintly of lavender. It was charming in a way she had never experienced firsthand. Her penthouse in Manhattan was all steel and glass, modern lines and carefully curated art. This place had throw pillows with embroidered sayings and a porch swing that creaked when the wind blew. She unpacked her groceries, studying Tyler's canvas bag as she did. It was well-worn but clean, with a faded logo from what looked like a local hardware store. Henderson's Hardware, the text read, with a phone number printed underneath. On impulse, she pulled out her phone and dialed. "Henderson's, this is Molly speaking." The voice on the other end was cheerful and distinctly Southern. "Hi, I am new in town and wondering about your hours." Zara felt ridiculous doing reconnaissance on a grocery bag, but she had not gotten where she was by leaving stones unturned. "We are open 7 to 6, Monday through Saturday. Closed Sundays. You need directions, honey? Actually, I met someone who had one of your bags, Tyler Garrison. I wanted to return something to him." There was a pause, and when Molly spoke again, her voice had warmed considerably. "Oh, Tyler is one of the good ones. Works construction mostly, picks up shifts wherever he can. He and his little boy, Connor, they are just the sweetest. Tyler is not working for us currently, but he helped out last spring when we had that leak in the warehouse. Worked around the clock to save our inventory." Another pause. "You said you wanted to return something?" "Just a bag he lent me, but I can bring it by if he comes in regularly." "Tell you what, honey. Tyler lives over on Sycamore Street, the blue house with the white shutters, number 42. He would not mind you stopping by, I am sure. He is good people." Zara ended the call feeling like she had just received more information than she had bargained for. Molly clearly cared about Tyler, spoke of him with the kind of affection that suggested a small town looking after its own. It made her role here feel more complicated than it had an hour ago. She spent the afternoon driving around Millbrook, getting a feel for the layout. The town had maybe 5,000 residents, with a main street that still had some life to it, despite the boarded-up storefronts that suggested harder times. There was a diner that looked like it had not been updated since 1975, a pharmacy, a post office, a small library. The textile mill sat on the outskirts, a sprawling brick complex that had been abandoned for over a decade. Her research said the mill had employed nearly 800 people at its peak. When it closed, Millbrook lost its economic heart. Her company could bring that back, or at least bring something back. The plans called for mixed-use development, retail and residential, maybe some light industrial. It would transform the property from an eyesore into an asset. But it would also transform the character of the town itself, bring in outsiders, change the pace of life. From a business standpoint, it was an obvious win. From a human standpoint, sitting in her car looking at the boarded-up mill with its broken windows and graffiti-covered walls, she found herself wondering what Tyler Garrison would think of her plans. That night, Zara made pasta in the cottage's tiny kitchen and ate it on the back porch, wrapped in a throw blanket against the October evening chill. Stars were visible here in a way they never were in Manhattan. She could make out constellations she had learned about in school but never actually seen, scattered across the sky like diamonds on black velvet. The quiet was almost unnerving. No sirens, no traffic, no neighbors arguing through thin walls. Just crickets and the occasional distant bark of a dog. Her phone buzzed. Michael, her CFO, she let it go to voicemail. Whatever crisis he thought needed her immediate attention could wait until morning. That was the thing about being a billionaire CEO. Everyone thought their emergency should be your emergency. But out here, sitting on a creaky porch swing in a town where she was just Zara, not Zara Jenkins of Jenkins Development Corporation, she found she did not care about quarterly projections or zoning disputes. She cared, inexplicably, about a man with sea-glass eyes and a canvas bag, and the son who called for him from a battered truck. The next morning dawned clear and cool. Zara dressed in jeans and a sweater, things from the back of her closet that her stylist probably did not even know she owned. She pulled her dark hair into a ponytail and skipped the makeup beyond some lip balm. Looking at herself in the bathroom mirror, she almost looked like someone who belonged in Millbrook. She took Tyler's canvas bag and walked into town. The blue house with white shutters was not hard to find. Sycamore Street was 3 blocks over from her rental, lined with mature trees that were just starting to turn colors. Number 42 had a small front yard with toys scattered across it, a basketball hoop with a lowered rim, and a porch that could use a fresh coat of paint. Tyler's truck was parked in the driveway, which meant he was home. Zara climbed the porch steps and knocked before she could talk herself out of it. Footsteps approached, and then Tyler was opening the door, surprise clear on his face. He was wearing athletic shorts and a t-shirt, his hair damp like he had just showered. For a moment, neither of them spoke. Zara, hey. He seemed genuinely pleased to see her, that easy smile appearing. You tracked me down to return the bag. You could have kept it, really. I ran into someone at the hardware store who pointed me in your direction. I wanted to thank you properly. That was kind, helping me yesterday. It was just a bag. But he looked pleased nonetheless. Behind him, Zara could hear the sound of Saturday morning cartoons and a child's laughter. Is this a bad time? No, Connor is just watching his shows. Come in if you want. I can offer you terrible coffee and slightly better conversation. The inside of Tyler's house was exactly what she would have expected. Lived in, slightly cluttered but clean. Toys were corralled in baskets near the couch. School papers covered the front of the refrigerator. There were photos everywhere, mostly of Connor at various ages, but some of Tyler with the boy, their heads together, both of them grinning at the camera. What there were not any photos of was a woman. No wife, no girlfriend, just father and son. Dad, who is that? Connor appeared in the doorway to the living room, all big eyes and curiosity. He was wearing pajamas with dinosaurs on them, his dark hair sticking up in several directions. This is Miss Zara. She is new in town. Zara, this is my son, Connor. Hi, Connor. Zara bent down slightly so she was closer to his eye level. Nice pajamas. You like dinosaurs? They are the best. My favorite is the velociraptor because they are smart and they hunt in packs. Connor spoke with the absolute certainty of a 6-year-old sharing critical information. Do you like dinosaurs? I have not thought about them in a long time, but velociraptors do sound pretty cool. This seemed to satisfy him. Connor turned to his father. Can I have more cereal? You already had 2 bowls. How about some fruit? Tyler moved toward the kitchen, and Zara followed, feeling like she was intruding on something private and precious. Coffee? He asked over his shoulder. Sure, she watched as he poured 2 mugs, his movements efficient in the small space. He knew where everything was, moved with the confidence of someone who had performed these motions 1,000 times. There was something deeply appealing about his competence, the way he managed the everyday tasks of single parenthood with apparent ease. So, what brings you to Millbrook? Tyler handed her a mug and leaned against the counter. We are not exactly a tourist destination. I needed a change of pace. I have been doing some freelance writing, and I thought a small town might be inspiring. The lie came easily. She had practiced it, had her cover story down. Manhattan was getting exhausting. I have never been to New York. Here it is something else. He took a sip of his coffee, studying her over the rim of the mug. Millbrook is definitely a different speed. Most people find it boring. I have not found it boring so far. She met his gaze, felt that odd flutter in her chest again. Everyone seems friendly. That is a small town for you. Everyone knows everyone for better or worse. Privacy is not really a thing. He set down his mug. Fair warning, by this afternoon, half the town will know you were here. Molly at the hardware store is sweet, but she cannot keep a secret to save her life. Zara laughed despite herself. Good to know. Connor reappeared, now clutching a bowl of apple slices. Miss Zara, do you want to see my dinosaur collection? I have 23 dinosaurs. Connor, Miss Zara probably has things to do. But Tyler was smiling, that soft expression back. Actually, I would love to see your dinosaurs. The words surprised Zara even as she said them. She genuinely wanted to see whatever this kid was excited about. When had that happened? Connor's room was exactly what a 6-year-old boy's room should be. Toys everywhere, drawings taped to the walls, a twin bed with a superhero comforter. The dinosaurs were arranged on a shelf, everything from tiny plastic figures to larger models that looked more detailed. Connor launched into an explanation of each one, his enthusiasm infectious. Zara found herself crouching beside him, asking questions and listening to answers that were equal parts fact and imagination. Tyler watched from the doorway, and when Zara glanced over at him, the expression on his face made her breath catch. He looked grateful, tender, like she had given him something precious by simply paying attention to his son. All right, buddy, you have shown Miss Zara your whole collection. Maybe give her a break. Tyler's voice was gentle. It is okay, really? And it was. Zara could not remember the last time she had felt this relaxed, this present in a moment. Her life was usually a series of meetings and obligations, strategic decisions and calculated moves. This was different. This was real. They ended up spending the whole morning together. Tyler made sandwiches for lunch, and they ate in the backyard while Connor played on a slightly rusty swing set. The conversation flowed easily, moving from topic to topic without the awkwardness Zara usually felt in social situations. Tyler talked about growing up in Millbrook, about the construction jobs that kept him afloat but were unpredictable, about the challenge of raising a kid alone. Connor's mom. Zara asked carefully, "If you do not mind my asking." She left when he was 10 months old, said she was not cut out for motherhood, needed to find herself or something. Tyler's expression tightened, but there was no anger in his voice, just resignation. I have not heard from her since. It has been just me and Connor for 5 years. That must be hard. Some days more than others, but he is the best thing that ever happened to me. Everything I do is for him. Tyler watched his son swing higher, the chain creaking with each arc. Work is unstable, money is always tight, but we have each other. That is what matters. Zara felt something shift inside her. She thought about her company, about the development deal she was here to close. It would bring money into Millbrook, but it would also bring change, potentially disrupt the lives of people like Tyler who were just trying to get by. For the first time in her career, she found herself questioning whether a profitable deal was the same thing as the right deal. You are good with him, she said. Connor, I mean, he is lucky to have you. I am the lucky one. Tyler turned to look at her, and the sincerity in his eyes made her heart skip. Thanks for hanging out today. I know looking at dinosaurs is not exactly exciting. I cannot remember the last time I have had this much fun. The honesty of her words surprised her. As the afternoon wore on, Zara reluctantly said she should go. Tyler walked her to the door, Connor hovering nearby with a toy truck. You should come by again, Tyler said, if you want. We could grab coffee sometime or dinner. I mean, if that is something you would be interested in. He looked uncertain, vulnerable in a way that made Zara want to say yes immediately. I would like that. She meant it completely. Maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow is good. There is a diner on Main Street, nothing fancy, but the food is decent. 6 o'clock. It is a date. Tyler's smile was back, transforming his face. I will get my mom to watch Connor. She will be thrilled. She has been telling me I need to get out more. Zara walked back to her cottage, feeling lighter than she had in months, maybe years. The rational part of her brain was screaming warnings. She was lying to Tyler about who she was, why she was here. She was planning a development deal that could affect his livelihood. This was a terrible idea on every possible level. But the rest of her, the part that had felt something shift when Tyler smiled at his son, when he had gathered her runaway groceries without expecting anything in return, that part did not care about logic or strategy. That part wanted to see where this could go. Her phone had 17 missed calls and twice as many emails. Michael had escalated to her assistant, who had sent increasingly frantic messages about the Millbrook deal. Apparently, there was a competing offer on the table. Another developer had gotten wind of the property and was prepared to move fast. If Zara did not make a decision soon, she would lose the opportunity entirely. She sat on the porch swing and stared at her phone for a long time. Normally, this would be a no-brainer. She would pull the trigger, make the offer, secure the deal. Speed was everything in real estate development. Hesitation cost money and opportunity. But all she could think about was Connor's excited explanation of velociraptors, and the way Tyler's hands had been gentle but sure as he made sandwiches, and the photos covering his refrigerator that told the story of a life built on love rather than money. She typed a message to Michael. "Hold on the Millbrook property. I need more time to assess." "Expect pushback, but will explain Monday." His response was immediate and full of confusion, but she ignored it. Tomorrow she had a date with Tyler Garrison, and she wanted to be fully present for it, not distracted by business decisions and competing offers. The diner was exactly as advertised. Nothing fancy, but clean and welcoming, with vinyl booths and a waitress who called everyone honey. Tyler was already there when Zara arrived, sitting in a corner booth and standing when he saw her. He had made an effort, she noticed. Clean jeans, a button-down shirt in dark blue that made his eyes even greener, his hair neatly combed back. "You look beautiful." His compliment was straightforward, sincere. "Thank you. You clean up pretty well yourself." She slid into the booth across from him, feeling nervous in a way she had not experienced since she was a teenager. This was ridiculous. She had negotiated deals worth hundreds of millions of dollars without breaking a sweat. Why was dinner with a construction worker making her palms damp? They ordered burgers and sweet tea, and Tyler told her stories about growing up in Millbrook. About swimming in the creek behind the old mill during summers, about football games that the whole town turned out for, about the year the diner tried to go upscale, and everyone boycotted until they brought back the regular menu. "The mill closing hit everyone hard," Tyler said, his expression turning serious. "My dad worked there for 30 years. When they shut down, he was lost. We had to move to Richmond for him to find work. He passed away 2 years ago, heart attack. I think some of it was just heartbreak, you know. He loved this town. I am sorry." Zara reached across the table without thinking, covering his hand with hers. His fingers were warm, rough from work, and when he turned his hand over to lace their fingers together, she felt a jolt of electricity. "I came back here after Dad died. Wanted Connor to grow up in a place like I did. Wanted him to know community, small-town values, all that. Money is tighter here, work is harder to find, but it is home." Tyler squeezed her hand gently. "Tell me about you. What is your story?" Zara had to be careful here. She kept to her cover, talked about writing and needing a change, about Manhattan being too fast and too impersonal. The lies tasted bitter, but she pushed through them. What choice did she have? The truth would ruin this, whatever this was becoming. "No family?" Tyler asked. "My parents passed when I was in college. Car accident. I do not have siblings. It has been just me for a long time." That part was true. She had built her empire alone, driven by a need to prove herself, to create something that lasted. But somewhere along the way, she had forgotten to build a life alongside the business. That must be lonely. "I stayed busy. It is different here, though. Quieter. I like it more than I expected to." They talked until the diner started closing, the waitress politely clearing her throat to remind them that other people actually needed to go home. Tyler paid despite Zara's protests, and they walked out into the cool October night. "I had a really good time." Tyler turned to face her in the parking lot, standing close enough that she could feel the warmth radiating from him. "Can I see you again?" "Yes." No hesitation, no second guessing, just certainty. "Tomorrow Connor has a soccer game." It is pretty boring, a bunch of 6-year-olds chasing a ball around without much coordination. But if you wanted to come watch, he would like that. I would like that. "What time?" 10 in the morning at the elementary school field. "I will be there." Tyler leaned in slowly, giving her time to pull away if she wanted to. She did not want to. His lips were warm and soft, the kiss gentle but sure, a promise of something more. When he pulled back, his eyes were dark with emotion. "Good night, Zara. Good night." She watched him drive away in his old truck, her lips still tingling from the kiss. This was getting complicated in the best and worst ways possible. She needed to tell him the truth, but she also needed to figure out what she wanted that truth to mean for both of them. The soccer game was chaos in the way that only kids' sports could be. Connor was on the Tigers, wearing an orange jersey that was slightly too big. He spotted Zara in the small crowd of parents and waved frantically, his whole face lighting up. She waved back, feeling a warmth spread through her chest. Tyler was coaching, which explained the whistle around his neck, and the clipboard he kept consulting like it contained crucial strategic information rather than the names of 6-year-olds who could barely tell left from right. He was patient with the kids, encouraging without being pushy, quick to praise effort over results. Watching him interact with the team with his son, Zara felt herself falling deeper into something she could not quite name. The Tigers lost 3-2, but Connor scored one of the goals and was ecstatic. After the game, Tyler suggested they all grab lunch together, and Zara found herself at a pizza place surrounded by sticky children and harried parents. It should have been overwhelming. Instead, it felt right. "Miss Zara, did you see my goal?" Connor was bouncing in his seat, unable to contain his excitement. "I did. That was amazing. You ran so fast." "Coach, Dad says I am getting better every week. Next game, I am going to score 2 goals." "I believe it." Tyler caught her eye across the table, and his smile was private, meant just for her. They had fallen into something that felt like a relationship, even though they had only known each other for a few days. It should have been too fast. It should have felt reckless. Instead, it felt like the most natural thing in the world. Over the next 2 weeks, Zara became a regular fixture in Tyler and Connor's life. She went to another soccer game, helped Connor with a school project about the solar system, had dinner at their house more nights than not. Tyler was careful about maintaining boundaries, making sure Connor did not get too attached too fast. But the boy was irrepressible in his affection. He would grab her hand when they walked, share his toys without prompting, ask her opinion on everything from what snack to have to whether Superman could beat Batman in a fight. Tyler and Zara stole moments when they could. Kisses in the kitchen while Connor was absorbed in his cartoons. Quiet conversations after the boy went to bed, sitting on Tyler's worn couch with their fingers intertwined. The physical attraction between them was undeniable, but there was something deeper developing, a connection that scared Zara even as it drew her in. "I have been thinking," Tyler said one evening. Connor was asleep and they were on the couch, Zara tucked against his side. "This thing between us, it is moving fast." Her stomach dropped. "Too fast." "No, just fast, but it feels right, you know." "I have not felt this way about anyone since, well, ever, honestly. Connor's mom and I were young and stupid, more about attraction than actual connection. This is different. You are different. You are different too." Zara tilted her head to look up at him. "I have never had this. I have been so focused on work, on success, that I forgot there were other things worth having." "Like what?" "Like this. Like you and Connor, like family dinners and soccer games and just being present in moments instead of always planning 3 steps ahead." Tyler kissed her, slow and deep, and Zara felt herself melting into him. His hands were sure as they mapped the curve of her waist, the line of her spine. She wanted more, wanted everything, but they both knew this was not the time. Not with Connor asleep down the hall, not when things were still so new. "Stay tonight," Tyler murmured against her lips. "Just stay, we do not have to do anything, I just want you here." "Okay." They fell asleep on the couch, tangled together, and Zara could not remember the last time she had felt so safe, so completely at peace. But peace could not last forever, especially not peace built on lies. The call came at 7 in the morning. Michael, frantic. The competing developer had made their move, had apparently gotten to the property owner directly. If Zara did not counter immediately, did not come back to New York and handle this personally, they would lose the Millbrook deal entirely. "I need you here tomorrow," Michael said. "We have a board meeting. They are questioning your commitment to this project, wondering why you have been dragging your feet." "I am not dragging my feet. I am doing due diligence. For 3 weeks, in a town with 5,000 people. Zara, what is really going on?" She could not answer that, not honestly. What was going on was that she had fallen in love with a man who would probably hate her when he learned the truth. What was going on was that she could not reconcile the businesswoman who saw dollar signs and development opportunities with the woman who had spent last night sleeping on Tyler Garrison's couch, his arm wrapped protectively around her. "I will be there tomorrow," she finally said. "Schedule the meeting for 2. Tyler was in the kitchen when she emerged, making coffee and breakfast. Connor was still asleep. He smiled when he saw her, that open, genuine expression that made her heart ache. "Morning. How do you like your eggs?" "Tyler, I need to talk to you." Something in her tone made his smile fade. He set down the spatula and turned to face her fully. "What is wrong?" "I have to go back to New York. There is a work emergency. I will be gone at least a few days." "Okay." He looked confused but not upset. "That is fine." "We will miss you, but work is work." "There is more." She took a deep breath, knowing this was the moment. She could tell him everything, come clean about who she was and why she was really in Millbrook. Or she could keep lying, just a little bit longer, until she figured out how to protect both the business deal and the relationship she had stumbled into. "I'm not sure how long I will be gone. Things are complicated." "Complicated how?" "Just trust me, okay?" "I will explain everything when I get back, I promise. But I need you to know that these past few weeks, they have been real. What I feel for you, for Connor, it is real." Tyler crossed the kitchen in 2 strides and pulled her into his arms. "Hey, it is okay. Whatever is going on, we will figure it out. I'm not going anywhere and neither are you. This is real for me too." She buried her face in his chest, breathing in the scent of him, trying to memorize this moment before everything fell apart, because it would fall apart. There was no version of this story where she got to keep both her company and Tyler. She was going to have to choose, and she had no idea which choice she could live with. The drive back to New York felt like traveling between 2 different worlds. By the time Zara reached her penthouse, she had shed the simple clothes and casual demeanor of her Millbrook disguise and returned to being herself. Power suit, heels, hair and makeup perfect. Zara Jenkins, CEO, billionaire, woman who let nothing stand between her and what she wanted. Except she had no idea what she wanted anymore. The board meeting was brutal. Michael presented the details of the competing offer, which was aggressive and immediate. The other developer wanted to move fast, tear down the old mill, and start construction within 6 months. It was exactly the kind of decisive action the board expected from Zara, and her hesitation made them nervous. "I need more time to assess the community impact," she said, hating how weak it sounded. "Since when do we care about community impact beyond the legally required minimum?" This from Robert Chen, her most difficult board member. "We are in the business of making money, not making friends. We are in the business of sustainable development. Rushing in without understanding the local dynamics is how projects fail, or how opportunities slip away." Robert leaned back in his chair, studying her. "What is really going on here, Zara? This is not like you." She wanted to tell them about Tyler, about Connor, about the way Millbrook felt like a community rather than just a development opportunity. But these were business people. They dealt in numbers and projections, not feelings and soccer games. Instead, she bought herself time. Give me 1 more week. Let me go back, finalize my assessment, and then we move forward. I promise you it will be worth the wait. They agreed barely. But she could feel their confidence in her wavering. In her entire career, she had never hesitated like this. She had built Jenkins Development Corporation on decisive action and calculated risk. This indecision was weakness, and in business, weakness was death. That night, alone in her penthouse, Zara called Tyler. Connor answered, his excited voice shouting her name loud enough that she had to pull the phone away from her ear. "Miss Zara, when are you coming back? Dad is making spaghetti and it is not as good as when you help." "Soon, Connor, I promise." "Is your dad there?" "Yeah, hold on, Dad. Miss Zara is on the phone for you." Tyler's voice was warm when he took over. "Hey, how is New York?" "Exhausting. I miss you guys." "We miss you too. Connor asked about you at breakfast, lunch, and dinner. You have made quite an impression." "He has made quite an impression on me too, both of you have." There was a pause, loaded with things unsaid. Finally, Tyler spoke. "When you come back, we need to talk, really talk. There is something between us, Zara, something serious. And if we are going to do this, if we are going to be together, I need to know everything about you. No more vague answers about your work or your past." Her throat tightened. "I know, and I will tell you everything, I promise." "Good, because I am falling for you. Hard. And I need to know if you are falling too, or if this is just a nice distraction from whatever is waiting for you back in Manhattan." "It is not a distraction." The words came out fierce. "This is the most real thing in my life, Tyler. You and Connor, what we have been building, it is the only thing that feels true. Then come back. Come back and let me in, really in. Let us figure this out together." "I will. Just give me a few more days to sort some things out." After they hung up, Zara stood at her floor-to-ceiling windows, looking out at the Manhattan skyline. She had worked so hard to get here, to build this empire. But standing in her perfect penthouse, surrounded by all the trappings of success, she felt hollow. The life she had built looked impressive from the outside, but it was empty. No one to share it with, no laughter echoing through the rooms, no sticky handprints on the glass or dinosaur toys scattered across the floor. She knew what she had to do. The question was whether she had the courage to do it. The next morning, Zara called an emergency board meeting. Michael tried to talk her out of it, but she was firm. By 2 in the afternoon, she was standing in front of the same people who had questioned her judgment yesterday, but this time she had clarity. "I am withdrawing our offer on the Millbrook property." She said it clearly, firmly, before anyone could interrupt. "And I am stepping back as active CEO for 6 months. Michael will handle day-to-day operations with my guidance from a distance." The room exploded. Everyone was talking at once, demanding explanations, accusing her of having lost her mind. Robert Chen was the loudest, declaring this was grounds for a vote of no confidence. Zara let them rage for a full minute before she held up her hand. "I built this company from nothing. I have earned the right to make this decision. The Millbrook deal is wrong. Not financially, it would probably be profitable, but it would destroy a community that is already struggling, would displace people who have no other options. I will not be responsible for that." "You are making business decisions based on emotion," Robert said flatly. "That is unacceptable." "I am making business decisions based on ethics and long-term sustainability. There is a difference between building something of value and just extracting profit from communities that cannot afford to lose more. We can do better. We should do better. And stepping back as CEO, what is that about?" Zara took a breath. "I met someone, in Millbrook, someone who made me realize that I have built an impressive company but a hollow life. I want something more. I want family dinners and soccer games and messy, complicated, beautiful everyday moments. I want to fall asleep on a couch with someone I love and wake up to coffee and conversation. I can still run this company, but I cannot do it from this office, 16 hours a day, with no room for anything else." Michael was staring at her like she had grown a second head. "You are in love." Yes, with someone in Millbrook? Yes. Does he know who you are, what you do? Not yet, but I am going to tell him, today, right now. And either he will understand and forgive me for the deception, or I will lose the best thing that has ever happened to me. She looked around the table. I need to do this. Not just for him, but for me. I have spent my whole adult life building walls and barriers, protecting myself, staying in control. But control is not the same thing as happiness. I am done choosing power over people. The board voted. It was close, but ultimately they agreed to her terms. 6 months of reduced involvement, with the option to extend if things were working. Michael would step up, prove himself as a potential successor. And Zara would finally have the chance to build something that mattered more than money. She was on the road back to Millbrook within an hour. Tyler's truck was in the driveway when she arrived at his house. It was late afternoon, and through the window, she could see him and Connor in the kitchen, probably starting dinner. The scene was so domestic, so perfect, that she almost lost her nerve. What if he hated her? What if learning the truth destroyed everything they had built? But she had not driven 4 hours to turn back now. Zara got out of her car and walked up to the door. She knocked, her heart pounding so hard she could feel it in her throat. Tyler opened the door, surprise and pleasure warring on his face. Zara, you are back early. I thought you said a few more days. Can we talk? It is important. Something in her expression must have worried him because his smile faded. Connor, buddy, can you go play in your room for a bit? Miss Zara and I need to have a grown-up conversation. Connor appeared behind his father, immediately sensing the tension. Is everything okay? Everything is fine, sweetheart. Zara tried to smile. I just need to talk to your dad about some boring adult stuff. The boy looked uncertain but nodded and headed upstairs. Tyler gestured for Zara to come in, and she followed him to the living room. They sat on the couch, but not touching. The distance between them felt vast. What is going on? Tyler's voice was gentle but firm. And please, just tell me the truth. Whatever it is, we can handle it. My name is Zara Jenkins. I am the CEO of Jenkins Development Corporation. We are a major real estate development company based in New York. I came to Millbrook 3 weeks ago because we were considering making an offer on the old textile mill property. She forced herself to meet his eyes, to watch as understanding and betrayal washed across his face. I came here undercover to assess the community, to see if developing the property would face local resistance. The struggling writer's story, all of it was a lie. Tyler stood up, putting physical distance between them. His face had gone carefully blank, the way it did when he was processing something painful. You lied to me. Yes, about everything. Not everything. My feelings for you, for Connor, those were real, are real. But yes, I lied about who I was and why I was here. You are a billionaire CEO. He said it like he was testing the words, trying to make sense of them. And you were investigating whether to develop the mill. Yes, past tense. I withdrew our offer this morning. We are not developing the property, and I stepped back from my position, at least temporarily. Because being here, being with you, it made me realize that my life was empty. I had success but no substance. So I am what? Your wake-up call? Your crisis of conscience? There was anger in his voice now, cutting through the shock. You came into my life, my son's life, under false pretenses. You let Connor get attached to you, let me fall for you, all while lying about something fundamental. I know, and I am sorry. I should have told you sooner, should have been honest from the start. But by the time I realized what we had, I was terrified of losing it. So you kept lying. Yes. There was no defense for that. I made a mistake, a big one, but my feelings for you are real, Tyler. Everything we shared, every moment, that was me. The real me, maybe for the first time in years. Tyler ran his hand through his hair, a gesture she recognized as him trying to maintain control. I do not know what to do with this. You are a billionaire. I am a construction worker who lives paycheck to paycheck. You have a company to run in New York. I have a kid to raise in Millbrook. Even if I could get past the lying, how would this even work? I do not know, but I want to try. I love you, Tyler. I love Connor. I want to be part of your lives if you will let me. We can figure out the logistics, but only if you can forgive me for not being honest sooner. He looked at her for a long moment, his expression unreadable. Finally, he spoke. I need time. This is a lot to process. You need to leave. Tyler, please. I am not saying never. I am saying I need time to think. You lied to me for weeks, Zara. That is not something I can just brush aside. I have Connor to think about, and he is already attached to you. If we do this, if we try to make this work, I need to be sure. So please just go. Give me a few days to sort through my feelings. Zara felt tears burning behind her eyes, but she nodded. Okay, I will be at the cottage on Maple Street when you are ready to talk. Or if you decide you do not want to talk at all, I will understand. She stood, moving toward the door on shaky legs. For what it is worth, I really am sorry, and I really do love you both. She left before he could respond, before she could see whether her words had made any difference at all. The next 3 days were the longest of Zara's life. She stayed in the cottage, working remotely on the minimal business issues that actually required her attention. Michael sent updates and handled everything that could be handled. Her phone stayed silent. No calls from Tyler, no texts, nothing. She walked through Millbrook, this town she had come to love without meaning to. She saw the diner where she and Tyler had their first date, the school field where Connor played soccer, the hardware store where Molly had first given her directions to Tyler's house. Everything reminded her of what she might have just lost. On the 4th day, there was a knock at her door. Tyler stood on the porch, looking tired but determined. Can I come in? Of course. She stepped aside, her heart racing. They sat at the small kitchen table, and for a moment, neither spoke. Finally, Tyler broke the silence. I have been thinking a lot. About what you said, about what we have. I talked to my mom, to some friends, even to Connor as much as you can talk to a 6-year-old about complicated adult stuff. What did they say? My mom said I would be an idiot to let you go over something like this. She pointed out that you came back, that you told me the truth when you could have just disappeared. That has to count for something. My friends were more mixed. Some thought I should run far away from a billionaire who lied about who she was. Others said everybody has baggage, and at least yours comes with a hefty bank account. A ghost of a smile flickered across his face. Connor just asked when you were coming over again because he wants to show you the new dinosaur grandma bought him. What do you think? Her voice was barely a whisper. I think I am scared, terrified, actually, because this is not just about me. If we do this, if we try to make this relationship work, Connor is going to get even more attached. And if it falls apart because you decide small town life is not for you, or because the logistics are too complicated, he is the one who gets hurt. I can handle a broken heart. I have had practice. But I will not let my son go through that. I would never hurt Connor, or you, not intentionally. I know, but intention is not always enough. Tyler leaned forward, his elbows on the table. So here is what I need you to be sure. Not just caught up in the romance of it all, not just rebelling against your corporate life. I need you to be certain that this is what you want, because once we are all in, we are all in. I do not do halfway, especially not where my kid is concerned. Zara met his gaze steadily. I am sure. I stepped away from my company, Tyler. I made the choice to prioritize this, to prioritize us. I want to build a life here, in Millbrook, with you and Connor. I can run my company from anywhere. The board has agreed to let me work remotely for at least 6 months, maybe permanently. I can make this work if you are willing to let me try. What about the money thing, the difference in our situations? What about it? You work hard, you provide for Connor, you are a good father. That matters more to me than matching bank accounts. If you are worried about people thinking you are with me for my money, we will deal with it. If you are worried about me thinking less of you because you are not wealthy, that is never going to happen. I fell in love with you, not your financial statement. Tyler was quiet for a long moment. Then he reached across the table and took her hand. I am still angry about the lying. That is going to take time to fully get past. I understand, but I love you too. I tried to talk myself out of it these past few days, tried to convince myself that we were too different, that this was doomed from the start. But I could not do it. You have gotten under my skin, Zara Jenkins. You and your fancy New York life and your inability to pick the right type of milk at the grocery store. She laughed, feeling hope bloom in her chest for the first time in days. So we are going to try this. We are going to try this. Slow, taking it one day at a time. No more lies, no more secrets. Complete honesty, even when it is hard. I can do that. Tyler stood and pulled her to her feet, wrapping his arms around her. She pressed her face into his chest, breathing him in, letting herself believe that maybe this was actually going to work. Connor wants you to come over for dinner tonight. He has been asking about you constantly. I had to tell him you and I had a disagreement and needed some time apart. He was worried. I have missed him, missed you both so much. Then come home, because that is what it is, Zara. Home. If you are going to be part of our lives, then our house is your home too. She kissed him, pouring everything she felt into it. Relief, love, gratitude, hope. When they finally pulled apart, Tyler was smiling, really smiling, and the sight of it made her feel like she could conquer anything. Dinner that night was loud and chaotic and perfect. Connor was overjoyed to see her, launching into an immediate monologue about everything that had happened in the 4 days she had been absent. He showed her his new dinosaur, a Spinosaurus that was apparently very rare and special. He asked her to help with his spelling homework. He wanted her to read him a bedtime story. After Connor was asleep, Tyler and Zara sat on the couch, talking late into the night. They discussed logistics, how to blend their lives. Zara would keep the cottage as her office space, but spend most of her time at Tyler's house. She would need to go back to New York periodically for board meetings and major decisions, but the bulk of her work could be done remotely. Tyler was hesitant about accepting any financial help, wanting to maintain his independence, and Zara respected that. They would figure out a balance, ways she could contribute without making him feel like she was taking over. "What are you going to do about the mill property?" Tyler asked. "If you are not developing it." "I have some ideas. Non-profit development, maybe. Convert it into a community center, small business incubators, affordable housing. Use my resources to actually help Millbrook rather than just extracting profit from it, but that is down the road. Right now, I am focused on us. A community center would be good. This town could use something like that." They talked about Connor, about Tyler's hopes and fears as a parent, about how to introduce Zara into his life more permanently without moving too fast or making promises they might not be able to keep. They talked about Tyler's work, about the construction jobs that were drying up as winter approached and money got tighter. Zara bit her tongue to keep from offering solutions. This was part of respecting his independence, letting him handle his life while being supportive rather than swooping in to fix everything. Over the next several weeks, they fell into a rhythm. Zara worked from the cottage in the mornings, handling conference calls and reviewing reports. Afternoons were for Tyler and Connor when they were available, or for exploring Millbrook and getting to know her new home better. Evenings were family time, dinner and homework help, and bedtime routines. It was ordinary and domestic and absolutely nothing like her old life, and Zara had never been happier. She met Tyler's mother, Margaret, a warm woman in her late 50s who looked at Zara with frank assessment before pulling her into a hug. "You made my boy smile again. That is good enough for me. But if you hurt him or Connor, I will find a way to make your life miserable, money or no money." "Deal." Zara liked Margaret immediately. She met Tyler's friends, mostly guys he had grown up with who were polite but clearly protective. They warmed up when they saw how she was with Connor, how natural and unforced her affection for the boy was. Small towns thrived on acceptance, and slowly, Zara felt Millbrook accepting her as part of the community rather than just a visitor. She also slowly became part of Connor's life in a more official capacity. She attended his school conferences with Tyler, helped plan his 7th birthday party, was there for the school winter concert, where he sang off-key with enthusiasm. Connor started calling her by her first name without the miss in front of it, started grabbing her hand as naturally as he grabbed his father's, started saying things like, "Can Zara come too?" when making plans. 3 months after that first honest conversation, Tyler asked her to move in officially. Not just spending nights there, but actually moving in, making it their home together. Zara said yes without hesitation. They fell in love by degrees, slowly and then all at once. There were challenges. Tyler struggled sometimes with the disparity in their resources, with the fact that Zara could solve problems with money that he had to work around. Zara struggled with giving up control, with letting Tyler make decisions about Connor without her input, with accepting that she was part of this family, but not the head of it. They argued sometimes, usually about small things that were really about bigger insecurities. But they also learned to communicate, to be honest even when it was uncomfortable, to choose each other even when it was hard. 6 months after moving to Millbrook, Zara officially changed her role at the company. She would remain majority owner and chairman of the board, but Michael took over as CEO full-time. She would advise, would stay involved in major decisions, but the day-to-day operations were no longer her concern. It was terrifying and liberating in equal measure. She also moved forward with plans for the old mill. Jenkins Development Corporation made a donation to a newly formed nonprofit, which purchased the property and began the slow work of renovation. There would be affordable housing units, a community center with a library and meeting rooms, space for local businesses to set up shop at below-market rates. It was the kind of project that would not make much money, but would make a real difference. And Zara found more satisfaction in it than in any of the luxury developments she had built in her corporate heyday. One evening, almost a year after she had first met Tyler in a grocery store parking lot, they were sitting on the porch swing while Connor played in the yard. The October air was crisp, leaves falling in shades of red and gold. Tyler had his arm around her, and she was tucked against his side, perfectly content. "I have been thinking about something," Tyler said. "About what?" "About us, about making this official." Zara's heart started to race. "Official how?" Tyler shifted so he could look at her, his green eyes serious. "I love you. Connor loves you. You are already part of our family in every way that matters. So I am asking, do you want to make it legal? Will you marry me?" Tears sprang to her eyes immediately. "Yes, absolutely yes." He kissed her, soft and deep, and when they pulled apart, Connor was standing at the bottom of the porch steps, looking between them with wide eyes. "Are you guys getting married?" he asked. "We are." Tyler grinned at his son. "How do you feel about that, buddy?" Connor considered for a moment, then his face split into a huge smile. "Does that mean Zara will be my mom?" Tyler looked at her, the question clear in his eyes. Zara climbed off the swing and knelt down so she was eye level with Connor. "If that is okay with you, I would love to be your mom." "I love you and your dad so much, Connor. Being part of your family is the best thing that has ever happened to me." "Cool. Can we get a dog now? Moms and dads are supposed to say yes to dogs." Tyler laughed. "We will discuss the dog situation, but yes, we can talk about it." Connor whooped and ran back to his toys, already absorbed in his own world again. Tyler pulled Zara to her feet and into his arms. "Are you sure about this? About all of it? Small town life, instant motherhood, a guy who still has to worry about making the mortgage payment." "I have never been more sure of anything." And she meant it. This life, this family, it was everything she had never known she wanted. "I love you, Tyler Garrison. I love your son. I love this town. I love the life we are building together." "I love you too, so much that it scares me sometimes." "Good. We should be a little scared. It means this matters." They got married in the spring, a small ceremony at the community center in the renovated mill. Margaret cried. Connor served as ring-bearer with serious concentration, and half of Millbrook turned out to witness the billionaire CEO marry the construction worker she had met in a parking lot. It was the opposite of the society wedding Zara's old life would have demanded, and it was perfect. They honeymooned in the mountains, just the three of them, staying in a cabin and hiking during the day and making s'mores over a campfire at night. Connor taught Zara how to skip stones across a lake. Tyler taught her that being still and present was its own kind of success. When they got back to Millbrook, back to real life, Zara found she was pregnant. It was sooner than they had planned, but the surprise was welcome. Connor was ecstatic about becoming a big brother. Tyler was terrified and thrilled in equal measure. Their daughter was born the following winter, arriving during a snowstorm that blanketed Millbrook in white. They named her Elizabeth Margaret, after both their mothers. Connor took his role as big brother seriously, always wanting to help to hold her, to tell her stories about dinosaurs that she was far too young to understand. Zara's company thrived under Michael's leadership, growing in different ways than it would have under her control. They focused more on sustainable development, on projects that benefited communities rather than just extracting profit. It was not always the most lucrative approach, but it built a legacy Zara was proud of. She stayed involved, attending quarterly meetings and advising on major decisions, but her primary focus was her family. Tyler eventually started his own construction company, small but steady. Having Zara as a spouse helped smooth some of the financial rough patches that came with entrepreneurship, though they were careful to maintain boundaries. He needed to succeed on his own terms, and she respected that. But knowing they had a safety net, if things got really difficult, took some of the pressure off. They bought a bigger house on the edge of town, with enough land for the dog Connor had lobbied for. A golden retriever named Max who was patient with the baby and loved to play fetch with Connor for hours. There was room for Tyler's mother to visit whenever she wanted, a home office for Zara, bedrooms for all the kids they might eventually have. Connor grew older, started school, joined sports teams. He was bright and curious, with his father's kindness and a sense of humor all his own. Elizabeth started toddling, then running, then chattering nonstop about everything and nothing. The house was loud and messy and full, everything Zara's sterile penthouse had never been. On their second wedding anniversary, Tyler found Zara in the nursery late at night, rocking Elizabeth back to sleep after a nightmare. He leaned in the doorway, just watching them, and when she noticed him, he smiled. "What are you thinking about?" she whispered. "About how lucky I am. How one good deed in a parking lot changed my entire life. About how I almost pushed you away because I was scared." He crossed the room and pressed a kiss to the top of her head. "About how grateful I am that you came back, that you fought for us. I should be the one who is grateful. You and Connor, you gave me something I did not even know I was missing. A home, a family. A reason to be present instead of always chasing the next deal, the next success. We saved each other, I think. Yeah, we did." They stood there together in the quiet nursery, their daughter asleep between them, their son down the hall dreaming of dinosaurs and adventures. Outside, Millbrook slept under a blanket of stars, the mill lights glowing in the distance as the community center hosted a late-night basketball game. Zara had traveled the world, closed billion-dollar deals, built an empire from nothing. But standing in that nursery with her husband and daughter, she knew this was her greatest accomplishment, not the money or the power or the success. This, love that was messy and complicated and real. A family built on honesty and patience and choosing each other every single day. She had come to Millbrook looking for a business opportunity and found her life instead. And she would not change a single thing about how it happened, not the lies she had told, or the fear she had felt, or the risk she had taken. Because all of it, every difficult moment and honest conversation and leap of faith, had led her here. Home. Years continued to pass, each one adding new layers to their life together. Connor graduated from elementary school, then middle school, growing into a teenager who was thoughtful and kind, if occasionally moody the way all teenagers were. He played football like Tyler had, worked part-time at Henderson's Hardware the way his father once did, talked about going to college for engineering. Elizabeth started school, proving to be as bright and determined as her mother, with a stubborn streak that made Tyler laugh and shake his head. They had one more child, a son they named Jack, who arrived when Connor was 15 and Elizabeth was 8. He was a surprise, unplanned but welcomed, keeping them young even as they aged. Connor was patient with his baby brother, and Elizabeth appointed herself Jack's protector and teacher, showing him everything he needed to know about their family and their town. Zara never fully retired from Jenkins Development Corporation, but her involvement continued to evolve. She focused on mentoring young executives, especially women, helping them navigate the corporate world while maintaining their humanity. She endowed scholarships for kids from small towns who wanted to study business or development. She used her platform and resources to advocate for sustainable development practices across the industry. Tyler's construction company grew slowly but steadily, earning a reputation for quality work and fair dealing. He hired locally whenever possible, trained young people in the trades, became a pillar of the Millbrook business community. He never quite got comfortable with Zara's wealth, but he learned to accept it as part of their reality rather than a source of tension. They found their balance. The old mill became exactly what Zara had envisioned: a true community center, the heart of New Millbrook. There were basketball leagues and art classes, small businesses and affordable apartments. It brought new life to the town without destroying what made Millbrook special. People came back. Young people who had left for opportunities elsewhere saw that maybe home was worth staying for after all. On the evening of their 10th wedding anniversary, Tyler took Zara back to the grocery store parking lot where they had first met. He had arranged for someone to watch the kids, had planned this surprise carefully. "Why are we here?" Zara asked, looking around the familiar space. "Because this is where it started. I want to remember what it felt like, that first moment when I saw you chasing a grapefruit across the parking lot." Tyler took her hands. "I want to remember the man I was then, worried about making ends meet, focused only on survival and raising Connor. And I want to appreciate the man I became because of you. Not because of your money or your connections, but because you loved me enough to stay when I asked you to leave, because you chose us over everything else. You made it easy to choose you. You and Connor, and now Elizabeth and Jack, you are everything I never knew I needed. We have built a good life, have we not? The best life." Zara leaned into him, feeling his arms come around her. "Sometimes I think about what would have happened if your bag had not broken. If I had just gotten in my car and driven away. I would have found another way to meet you, some other moment, some other chance. I believe that. I believe we were meant to find each other. That is very romantic for a construction worker. I have my moments." Tyler kissed her, slow and thorough, right there in the grocery store parking lot under the fluorescent lights. When they pulled apart, he was grinning. Ready to go home, always. They drove through Millbrook, past the diner where they had their first date, past the elementary school where their kids attended classes, past the community center that bore a small plaque crediting Zara's vision and generosity. Home was the house on the edge of town, where lights glowed warm in the windows, and Margaret's car was parked in the driveway because she had volunteered to babysit. Connor was helping Elizabeth with homework when they walked in. Jack was on the floor with his blocks and the dog. Margaret was in the kitchen, putting away clean dishes. It was ordinary and chaotic and absolutely perfect. "How was your anniversary dinner?" Connor asked, looking up from the math problems spread across the table. "Perfect." Zara ruffled his hair as she passed, earning her a tolerant eye roll. At 15, he was getting too cool for casual affection, but he did not pull away. "Thank you for watching your brother and sister." "No problem. Grandma helped." Margaret came out of the kitchen, wiping her hands on a towel. "These kids are angels. You two go on and have some quiet time." "I will get Jack to bed." Tyler and Zara escaped to their bedroom, closing the door on the happy chaos of their home. They changed into comfortable clothes and climbed into bed, Tyler pulling her close. 10 years, he said softly. Best 10 years of my life. Mine too. Zara traced patterns on his chest, feeling his heart beat steady beneath her palm. Thank you for taking a chance on me, for seeing past the lies to who I really was. Thank you for carrying your own groceries that day, for being terrible at it, she laughed. I am still terrible at grocery shopping. You usually handle it. I know, I love that about you. You can negotiate billion-dollar deals, but you cannot tell the difference between 2% and whole milk. They should label them more clearly. They are labeled very clearly. This was them, had been them for years now. Easy banter and comfortable silences, passion and partnership, challenges overcome and victories celebrated together. They had built this marriage one day at a time, one honest conversation at a time, one choice to love each other at a time. The years continued their march forward. Connor graduated high school with honors, got accepted to a good engineering program 2 hours away. Close enough to visit, far enough to be independent. Elizabeth became interested in social justice and community development, clearly her mother's daughter. Jack was still young, still figuring out who he would become, but he had time. Zara and Tyler grew older together, silver starting to thread through their hair, laugh lines deepening around their eyes. They were happy. Not perfectly, not without challenges or disagreements or difficult days. But deeply, fundamentally happy in a way that came from choosing each other every single day. On Connor's 18th birthday, Zara found herself thinking back to that first meeting in the parking lot. Connor had been 6 then, a little boy who showed her his dinosaur collection and asked if Superman could beat Batman. Now he was heading off to college, becoming his own person, but still fundamentally the sweet kid who had welcomed her into his life without reservation. You okay? Tyler found her on the porch, where she had escaped the birthday party chaos for a moment of quiet. Just thinking about how fast time goes, how quickly kids grow up. I know, feels like yesterday you were reading him bedtime stories for the first time. Remember how nervous you were. I had never read to a kid before. I had no idea what I was doing. You figured it out. You figure everything out. Tyler sat beside her on the swing, the same swing they had sat on countless times over the years. Connor turned out pretty great, did he not? He is amazing. You did an incredible job with him, Tyler, even before I came along. We did an incredible job with him. You have been his mom for more than half his life now. You get credit too. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the sun set over Millbrook. Inside, they could hear laughter and music, their family and friends celebrating. This was their life. Not perfect, not always easy, but rich with love and meaning. Do you ever regret it? Tyler asked. Giving up the CEO position, moving here, building this life instead of the one you had. Never, not for a single second. Zara took his hand, lacing their fingers together. You and the kids, this life we built, it is everything. The other stuff, the company and the money and the success, that was just what I did. This is who I am. I love you, Zara Garrison. I love you too. They returned to the party, to their children and friends and the beautiful, messy, wonderful life they had created together. Connor blew out his candles and made a wish he did not share. Elizabeth helped cut the cake. Jack got frosting everywhere despite their best efforts to contain him. Later, after everyone had gone home and the kids were in bed, Zara and Tyler cleaned up the party debris together. It was a familiar routine, one they had performed hundreds of times. Loading the dishwasher, putting away leftover food, wiping down counters. Small tasks that were somehow intimate, meaningful because they were shared. What do you think Connor wished for? Tyler asked, drying a serving platter, probably something about college, or maybe something about that girl he has been talking to. There is a girl. There is always a girl. Or boy, he is 18. Zara put away the last of the glasses. We raised a good human, Tyler. He is going to be just fine. We did. We really did. They stood in their kitchen, in the house they had made a home, in the town Zara had come to love as much as Tyler did. Outside, Millbrook slept peacefully. The mill lights glowed in the distance. A reminder of how much had changed since that first day in the parking lot. Zara had come here chasing a business deal, driven by ambition and the relentless pursuit of success. She had found something infinitely more valuable. Love that lasted, family that mattered, a life built on connection rather than competition. She had been lost without knowing it, and Tyler had helped her find her way home. Not to a place, but to a way of being. Present instead of always looking ahead. Grateful instead of always wanting more. Loved instead of just successful. If she could go back to that day, to the woman she had been standing in a parking lot with a broken grocery bag, she would tell her everything was about to change. That the handsome stranger jogging toward her would become her whole world. That his son would become her son. That this small town would become her home in a way Manhattan never was. But she could not go back, and she did not need to. She was exactly where she was supposed to be, with exactly who she was supposed to be with. The struggling dad who carried groceries for a woman he met had captured the heart of a billionaire who had been chasing success when she should have been chasing love. And they had built a life together that was worth more than any fortune Zara had ever accumulated. A life of ordinary moments and extraordinary love, of challenges overcome and joy celebrated, of family dinners and soccer games and everything that truly mattered. They went to bed that night wrapped in each other's arms, just as they had thousands of nights before and would thousands of nights to come. And Zara fell asleep thinking about how sometimes the best things in life come from chance encounters in parking lots, from broken grocery bags and runaway grapefruits, from strangers who stopped to help without expecting anything in return. Tyler Garrison had given her a canvas bag 12 years ago. In return, she had given him her heart, her life, her complete and absolute love. And she had received the same in return, multiplied beyond measure. It was the best deal she had ever made, and it had nothing to do with business at all.